Well, welcome to the Botanical Medicine Study Course with me, your host and instructor for the online class in all things botanical medicine. And my name is Stephanie Georgieff. If you would like to be the first on your block to know most of what is available in terms of practice, science, and application of botanical medicine, click below and you will be directed to a form which has the link to download the introductory video and handouts for the one-on-one course. That is really amazing course. I wish I could have taken this course. So a special thanks to my new subscribers and all of you who comment, like, and share these videos. It really does help to spread the word. Now, for this week's Herb of the Week, we will be exploring an herb that many find very relaxing. But the medicinal part of it, which is the roots and rhizome, smells and tastes rather odd. The herb of the week for this episode of the Botanical Medicine Study Course is valerian. Now, valerian is known as Valerian officinalis. And if you ever see the word officinalis in the botanical Latin binomial, that means that this herb has always been recognized, this plant has always been recognized as part of the official pharmacopoeia. So it's officially a medicinal plant. And it's part of the Caprifoliaceae family or the honeysuckle family. And it's a perennial flowering plant native to Europe and Asia. In the summer, when the mature plant can reach up to heights of 1.5 meters or 5 feet, it has really sweet pink or white flowers that attracts pollinators. So it's a wonderful herb to have in your garden to attract butterflies, etc. Valerian has been used as an herb in traditional medicine since at least the time of ancient Greece and Rome. And Hippocrates, that most famous of Greek physicians, whose oath, the Hippocratic Oath, is still said by medical students as they graduate to become physicians to this day. Hippocrates described valerian's properties, and Galen, who was sort of the offshoot of Hippocrates, he later prescribed it as a remedy for insomnia. Now, in medieval Sweden, valerian is sometimes placed in the wedding clothes of the groom to ward off the envy of the elves. And I don't necessarily get how this works. Did it put the elves to sleep, or were they repulsed by the smell, or what was that? But apparently this is what they did in medieval Sweden. Now, in John Gerard's Herbal, which is also called the General History of Plants, first published in 1597, Gerard said that his contemporaries found valerian, quote, excellent for those burdened and for such as to be troubled with croup and other like convulsions, and also for those that are bruised with falls, unquote. So that's a fancy way to say it's good for coughing and convulsions, and if you fall and you get bruised, but it's so much more elegant the way he says it. Now, the name of the herb, valerian, is derived from the personal name Valeria, and I don't know if George Martin did this on purpose when he was talking about the ancestors of the Targaryens, we'll see. But the Latin herb valere, which means to be strong or healthy. Now, common names for this plant you include garden valerian, garden heliotrope, setwall, and all heal. I think valerian's just fine. Now, the herbal actions of valerian root, again, it's mostly the root and the rhizomes, which are the underground part, is a nervine, which means it acts directly on the nervous system, and it's a sedative nervine. It's a hypnotic, which means it makes you really, really sleepy. It's antispasmodic, which means it helps stop cramps. Carminative, which I find interesting because I don't like the taste, but it helps with digestion. Hypotensive means it reduces blood pressure, and emmenagogue means it helps bring on the period. This is not going to be an abortion type herb, so don't try. But let's say your period's late for reasons other than being pregnant, this will help bring it on. Now, you need to be aware that in some individuals, it can actually be a stimulant. And so this is when your friendly neighborhood health food store has wonderful little sample packets from producers and companies. So you get 1 dose of valerian root. So try that first. And if you aren't up all night, if it actually does help you go to sleep, then it's fine. If it does keep you up, then don't buy the whole bottle. Now, it has a bunch of uses, but a lot of people take it for anxiety as well as a sleep aid. And I personally find it very effective. But it can make you drowsy the next day, and it's not recommended to take it during waking hours. So you take it a few hours before you go to bed. And as I said before, the root and the rhizome are the medicinally active parts. Now, a word of warning, I usually take this in capsule form because I think it really tastes odd. And I'm an herbalist, and I have some very interesting things that I think taste good. So if I don't like something, it's not a good thing to taste. You might like it. Some people say it tastes like smelly gym socks. I've never eaten smelly gym socks or sucked on them or anything, but I guess this is what they taste like, and so I'll just take people's word for it. Now, this is also a wonderful herb for muscle cramps and spasms, especially for those of us as we age. Those calf muscles like to cramp in the middle of the night. And we also have trouble sleeping as we get older. And valerian can help us sleep and not be woken up with those excruciatingly painful leg cramps. So those are the little cautions. It's a taste, and also it does make you very sleepy. And sometimes people, it actually stimulates them. Now, this slide has all sorts of different substances in valerian, and I got this from Science Direct, which is a wonderful go-to site for graphics of anything you can possibly imagine. And it shows, what I like about this is it shows the root, the fresh root, and then the dried root, and what these pretty flowers look like. So the constituents of valerian are an essential oil made mostly of sesquiterpenes, and those are the class of chemicals that work very efficiently and effectively on the nervous system. There's also bicyclic iridoids known as valiprotriates. And you also need to know that valerian may potentiate the side effects of sedatives. So if you're on prescription sleeping pills or anti-anxiety medication, please don't take valerian. But because it'll make everything really go bonkers and you may not be able to function. So that's not a good thing. So, but valerian is also a nice herb to take if you're trying to stop your prescription meds. And make sure that you consult with your physician and pharmacist if you want to stop any medication, but especially a sedative or a sleep aid. There are specific protocols to wean yourself off these drugs. If you go cold turkey, you may flip out and do things you regret later. But this, when you have graduated down on your prescription dose, this is a nice thing to add when you're off those medications. Now, valerian is in the top 20 best-selling herbs in North America, It's actually number 19 to be exact, and there are several ways to take valerian. While they are not a sponsor of this channel, I really like Gaia's herbs because their gel caps are filled with a standardized liquid extract. Sometimes with the powdered capsules, the active ingredient of valerian root is not always standardized. And yes, you'll get a certain amount of grams, which usually in a capsule, they call them double aught caps. Those are usually the gel cap or the capsules with the dried powdered herb in it. It's usually between 450 and 500 milligrams. But plants are affected by all sorts of things like weather, rainfall, and so on. And it's similar to, basically herbalism is a lot like being a wine connoisseur and a vintner. Some years with ideal sun and rain and soil and all that other stuff, the crop will be amazing. And in other years, those factors aren't very good. And that means the active constituent of the herb, as well as in the wine, is less. And so, yes, you'll get the mass, but you won't get the active constituent. But if you get gel caps, you get a standard dose, which I think is important. Now, I don't like the taste, but that's me. I also don't like coffee. But to me, drinking smelly gym sock tea isn't appetizing. But if you do want to drink the tea, you need to boil the herb for about 5 minutes because that's how you get stuff out. It's an acquired taste, which I've never acquired. In fact, sometimes when you take capsules or the standard gel, extract gel caps, sometimes you burp it up. And for me, that's not pleasant. And some tea mixtures have several herbs in them, including valerian, but the roots have to be boiled. So make sure you boil that tea bag at least for 5 minutes. And when you boil something and you make a tea out of it, it's called a decoction. Whereas if you just put the herb or a tea bag in water and let it steep, it's called an infusion. And infusions simply don't work on roots. They just don't. And you can also take the extract in a tincture form. And again, it's an acquired taste. Have at it if you like it, but you have been duly warmed. So valerian is a wonderful ally for your garden. And it's one of the plants used in biodynamic preparations. And it's the only biodynamic prep that comes from a liquid form. Most of them are some sort of paste that you add to your compost pile. And the biodynamic prep of valerian comes in a liquid form. It's sort of like a homeopathic formulation of the tea from the flowers, not the roots. And it's the last prep to be added to the compost, and it's used so the plants get the heat and light they need. And it's a wonderful plant to put in your garden to attract pollinators. And it dies out in the winter, but grows back in the spring. But it's really a lovely plant for any garden. The flowers do not reflect the weird smell of the roots, and the flowers actually have a very nice scent. And as always, we have information on how you can grow valerian, either pink or white, in your garden in the program notes. So valerian can be an absolutely wonderful ally for your garden and your medicine cabinet. It's a natural sleep aid for many people, but it's also a very powerful antispasmodic. And valerian can do wonderful things on so many levels. This is Stephanie Georgia saying thanks for spending your valuable time with me. Clink below if you would like more information on the online one-on-one course, and also useful information on valerian and biodynamic preps. And until next time, be well.